All right. Thanks for joining us here on KCENTV.com, on the 6 Plus app, and of course on Facebook Live as well. Did want to jump in here with a couple of quick updates for you. We are in the middle of what could prove to be a very active evening. Starting off with a look at what we currently have in terms of watches and warnings. We're under a tornado watch for most of central Texas here. This runs through 8 o'clock. And of course, if you're on Facebook Live on the 6 News Facebook page, of course, feel free to type any questions or comments into the chat. Aviana Smith is here with me. She'll be monitoring and answering those as they come in. And of course, if you have any questions, just let us know. We are here to answer your questions. We're going to stay with you here for the next 10 to 15 minutes because we do have a few storms already moving in. Again, this tornado watch goes through 8 o'clock. This is for, well, basically most of us. If you're north of basically Bell County, you're under a tornado watch through 8 o'clock. And some of those storms are already starting to move in from the west. We're seeing activity currently in Mills County. So as we take a look here at our live radar, you can see from Goldthwaite up towards Brownwood and Comanche, this is where we have our primary complex of storms right now. The strongest of these storms actually moved in towards Brown County and was actually tornado warned for a long time. No longer tornado warned, still severe warned though because of primarily what is a hail threat. But now you'll notice we have several different potential cores within the storm north of Brownwood, northwest of Goldthwaite. So let's go ahead and let's take a look inside the storm. Let's see what the hail is looking like inside these cores here between Brownwood and Goldthwaite. So first thing we do, last tool I used was the velocity, so of course that's going to come up first, and you can see some strong winds within these storms as well. But of course the hail, I think, kind of the primary story. So as we take a look, here you go. So take a look here. So anything you see north of Goldthwaite here, that's anytime you see these blues, that's going to be up to about 1.5 inches. So that's kind of the primary core right now. Again, it was up near Brownwood. It has shifted to the south though. This is basically two storms that have come together, and as they've done so, they have kind of torn each other apart a little bit. This storm that was moving in towards Brownwood actually had 3-inch hail at one point. No longer the case with that particular storm, but again, this storm near Goldthwaite now, that's where we're seeing the largest hail and the deepest blues. That's going to be up to about 1.5 inches in terms of the hail there. So that's kind of our primary concern right now. Again, the winds could be up to about 60 miles per hour. We were seeing rotation with these storms. That rotation has broken down, so primarily a hail threat right now. This whole system is basically moving off to the east. So as we take a look here, let's go ahead and put a track on that, and let's see where it's headed, when it's going to get there. It's moving east at about 30 miles per hour. So as it's moving east, it's going to impact parts of Hamilton County, down towards Evant, down towards Goldthwaite. All of these areas are going to be impacted by the storm here over the next couple of hours. Holding together pretty strong, not necessarily what it was before. Again, it was very strong before. We saw lots of rotation, tornado warning as it approached Brownwood. Then what happened was this storm to the south kind of started to develop. This convection started to pop up, and what happened was these two storms really started doing a number on each other, and that is why they're not as strong as they were, but still producing some fairly large hail. So as far as where the storm is headed, Evant by about 425, Edna Hill by 428, Hamilton 436, into Arnett by 451, Jonesboro 454, Gatesville by just a little bit after 5, Turnersville by almost 510 there, Coryell by 519, and Oglesby by about 530. So that's the direction this storm is headed. It is headed off to the east, and it's going to continue to do so, and we do expect it to kind of pulse a little bit. When I say pulse, what I mean is we've seen it very strong. We're seeing it a little bit weaker now than what it was before, but we will see it start to pick back up again as we head through the next couple of hours, because we still have plenty of fuel to work with, plenty of instability in the atmosphere. You can see those southeast winds still very strong across the area. So a warm, humid air mass, as long as we've got the daytime heating, which we still do for at least a couple more hours, we're going to see these storms stay fairly intense for us across the area. That's just one storm. All of this activity along a line that's draping from parts of central Arkansas all the way down through the DFW Metroplex, down towards I-20, and then back down towards San Angelo. You can see several severe thunderstorm warnings, one for the DFW Metroplex that looks like potentially Hunt County there. We have one there in effect for parts of western North Texas, and severe thunderstorm warnings as well for parts of the Big Country, the Permian Basin, and the Concho Valley as well. So a lot going on right now across Texas, and it's going to continue here for the next couple of hours. So let's take a look at our forecast model, see what it looks like here. By about 5 o'clock, we're expecting that activity to move further east in towards parts of McLennan, potentially Hill County, down towards Coryell County, Lampasas County, stays on that easterly, kind of southeasterly trajectory, and it's going to move through the I-35 corridor there, 6:30. And again, this is just one model's indication of what's going to happen over the next couple of hours, although I will say it's picked up on the early storms pretty well, so gives me a little bit more trust in it as we head through the rest of the evening. And then as we put it back in motion, this is going to move across the I-45 corridor there by about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and then behind that we are going to keep the possibility of scattered to isolated showers and thunderstorms in the forecast into the wee small hours of the night. You can see here 1:30, still seeing some activity specifically for the Brazos Valley. Now as we head this late into the night, 10, 11, 12, 1 a.m., we don't expect the severity to still be there. We lose the daytime heat, we lose a lot of the energy, and we start to get that cap that develops once again in the overnight hours. And so what's going to happen is we're still going to have showers and thunderstorms, but they are not going to be to the level of what we're seeing out there this afternoon. Back in motion by tomorrow morning, by daybreak, everything looking fine for us, but then we have another chance for showers and thunderstorms tomorrow as we head through your Thursday, about a 20% chance. This one is going to be more north than anything for tomorrow, and that's kind of what we've been looking at this week, at least early in the day. Put it back in motion, and we will see that continue potentially into the afternoon hours as well. Do want to show you your 7-day forecast. We're going to stay weather aware tomorrow because any of those storms that develop tomorrow afternoon could be severe potentially, so we have to keep that in the conversation, of course, for tomorrow. After that, after we get through today's storms, tomorrow's storms, we're going to leave a little bit of a chance in there for Friday. In fact, we're going to leave a passing chance in there for Saturday, Sunday as well. Not a great chance, not anything resembling a washout, just something to definitely be aware of if you have those Memorial Day weekend plans, because we are going to keep at least an isolated afternoon thunderstorm in the forecast. And of course, with temperatures at 94 and 95, yes, they could turn severe on us, but not everybody's going to see rain. In fact, for the weekend, most of us likely won't see any rain or thunderstorms, but it is worth remembering that we could see those storms pop up over the course of the weekend. Heat index values will be the story for the weekend. Over 100 both Saturday and Sunday, Monday as well. Of course, that Memorial Day logo needs to be shifted over, but by Tuesday, we're watching a cold front that's going to come through. That could bring us another chance for showers and thunderstorms there from Monday into Tuesday. And after that, we'll get a little bit of relief from the heat. The heat index values won't be over 100 anymore, and those daytime temperatures be back into the upper to mid 80s for Tuesday and Wednesday. So that is a quick look, a quick update on your weather here in the 4 o'clock hour. We're going to leave the radar up. We're going to leave the live stream going, and of course, we'll still be here to update you as needed over the course of the next hour. And then, of course, at 5 o'clock, we will be coming to you live on the TV with 6 News at 5. So again, thanks for staying tuned this afternoon. We're going to leave this running, and then we'll update you as these storms continue to evolve over the next couple of hours. little explainer. All right, for those of you that just heard that, just want to do a quick little explainer for you here on our live stream that we have going. Again, we are going to be on 6 News at 5, of course, here in the next 30 minutes or so. So, interesting thing that happened here, and just interesting to me, and maybe not as interesting to you, but we had this rotating supercell thunderstorm that was moving towards Brown County a little bit earlier. This one had me concerned because it was showing decent signs of rotation, had a tornado warning on it for just a second, and then as it moved into Brown County, we saw the rotation kind of break up just a little bit. It wasn't as well organized, no more tornado warning. However, it was still dropping hailstones that, at least according to our Doppler radar, could have been as large as 3 inches in diameter. Definitely baseball-sized hail with this storm. It has now since diminished, and I want to talk about why. And again, it may just be interesting to me, but hopefully it's interesting to you as well too. So these storms, what ends up happening is they become what we call outflow dominant. So what happens is with these storms, you get the big hailstones because you have the updraft. Well, as that air cools and gets heavier and heavier, it sinks and it falls out of the storm. That's where we get those 50, 60 mile per hour outflow winds that usually precede these storms as they come through. So as I'm looking at this radar and just doing some radar interpretation, it looks like what happened was as this storm was moving towards Brown County, it became, again, outflow dominant, spit out those 50 to 60 mile per hour winds, and then that created a little mini front, which then developed the storms down around southern Brown County and Mills County. And so what ends up happening was then it ends up ingesting basically its own storm, gets eaten by this entire conglomeration of storms that it created, and now the more powerful storms are along that outflow boundary there. That's why we have seen that hail course shift from Brown County now towards Mills County, and it's now moving off to the northeast towards Hamilton. So just a little interesting weather 101 for you. These storms can sometimes cannibalize themselves a little bit, and that's exactly what happened here. But of course, now that outflow boundary that kicked up the new storms, those new storms have developed in a much more conducive environment. Still have the southeast winds at the time, and so what ends up happening is that storm then takes over as the dominant storm because it's in a more favorable environment. And so what ended up happening there is, of course, the secondary storm has now overtaken the parent storm, the original storm. And all this activity is moving off to the northeast. Why is it moving northeast? It was moving southeast just a minute ago. Well, this storm, the original parent storm, this is why I love live streaming because I can explain these things. This parent storm is what we call a right mover. It was caught up in the upper level flow, moving off to the northeast, turns to the right, starts moving southeast. Why do they turn right? Well, when they're powerful and they start rotating, they can have a tendency to make that right turn. Well, now that this storm is no longer the dominant storm, the new dominant storm in this complex has caught up in that upper level flow, and that upper level flow was from southwest to northeast. So now those storms are all moving to the northeast. So moving towards Hamilton, we're going to take a look inside the storm just a little bit. Got my handy dandy wall computer that I can use while I'm on the weather wall. And we're going to take a look. We're going to see what kind of hailstones we're dealing with here now in this storm, now in Mills County, moving towards Hamilton County, and it's about to come across the county line here. Moving pretty quickly, looks like at about 35 or so miles per hour, moving along at a pretty good clip. So, and the good news there is, of course, with these storms, they have a tendency to produce heavy rainfall as well. So the quicker they move, the less rainfall they have the ability to drop wherever you are. And right now, with as saturated as everything is, we need lower rainfall rates. All right, so what we're going to look at, we're just going to take a look. I'm going to stop the motion here. We're going to take a look inside the storm. And this is north of Goldthwaite. First thing we look at is velocity. Notice these lighter reds, these very light red shadings, even the orange shadings. These are those strong outflow winds I was talking about. And one of the things that will kick off a severe thunderstorm warning is radar indicated wind of greater than 58 miles per hour. So as we take a look at these winds within this storm between Goldthwaite and Evant, this radar, and again, the radar is, you know, we're talking 80 miles away, so it could be seeing way up into the storm, but 74 miles per hour. Would not be surprised if the surface winds were around 60 to 65 miles per hour. So again, damaging winds, you know, a secondary threat to the hail threat. The other thing we're seeing is you see a lot of these reds and greens mixing together, indicating there is some rotation here, but this is broad, kind of messy rotation. We're not seeing those tight, what we call couplets, where they come together. I don't know if you can see this. Let me step closer. I stepped out of the lights, but you see where my fingers come together. They create that little hook action there within the velocity scans. Not seeing that, just seeing some broad, messy rotation. That's why this storm does not have a tornado warning on it at this moment. So let's switch over to our hail product. And again, This storm, the parent storm that moved through Brown County, was producing hail in excess of, at least according to our Doppler radar, baseball-sized hail. So this is not what we're seeing right now, but we're still seeing very large hail in the core of this storm north of Goldthwaite right now. 1.6, again, ping pong ball-sized hail here. So again, if you're familiar with the game of ping pong, they're about that big, about the size of your eyeball or thereabouts. And so that's what we're seeing north of Goldthwaite right now. And again, all of this is moving to the northeast. So you might see some hail in Goldthwaite. In fact, you're probably seeing it as we speak, but you're not seeing the largest hail that you could be seeing. And again, another little interesting note, as we put this in motion, you're watching the hail core, again, making a little bit of that right turn, just a little bit, maybe a little bit more of an easterly jog than a northeasterly jog. So let's turn this off. You can kind of see that. It is kind of shifting its course to the east a little bit more than northeast. So instead of Hamilton so much, maybe Evant would be an area that I'd be concerned with, towards Jonesboro, perhaps Hamilton as well. But if you are in this area, Hamilton to Evant to Jonesboro, there is a storm capable of very large hail moving your direction. So that is the area right now of most concern. After that, it'll move into parts of McLennan County and then up into Bosque County as well. So that's the storm worth keeping an eye on right now. Let's take a look at where it's headed. And again, moving generally east right now, so we're going to go from where the heaviest hail is, moving it off to the east. Again, Carrollton, Evant, Alimon, Permella, Arnott, Gatesville, South Mountain, Leon Junction, Valley Mills, McGregor. So all these areas definitely within the cone of the path of this storm. So if you are in any of these areas, make sure that your car is under cover, make sure that you're indoors and away from windows, because if it is producing ping pong ball sized hail, and if it does pick back up to, let's say, tennis ball to baseball sized hail, which is what we were seeing before, that is more than capable of breaking a window. So you definitely want to be inside the house. You want to make sure the car is covered, whether that's a garage, whether it's a carport, whatever the case may be, because these are very large hailstones, even at ping pong ball sized hail. I know it doesn't sound as impressive as a baseball, but can still do significant damage. Remember, severe hail is considered anything 1 inch or greater, and that's a quarter. And so we're talking, about 20% larger than a quarter. So keep that in mind. Again, storm moving off to the east, and we'll keep an eye on it here. And then, of course, here in the next few minutes, if this storm does start to move towards any of these areas, we'll jump back on the screen. But for now, we're going to let the radar run again. And again, if you have any questions at all, and you're on our Facebook Live, feel free to type them in the chat. We're here. We will definitely answer them for you as we continue to watch these storms. Jumping back in, because we did have a question in the chat from Holly, said just tuned in. Apparently I need to turn the volume down on my computer because that was awkward. It's picking up the microphone on the computer as well. So yes, in terms of Waco and Hewitt, Holly, it is moving generally east right now, and I'll type out a text to answer your question as well here in just a second. I just wanted to make sure that I answered your question. It is moving east, which would take it towards Waco and Hewitt. As we put a time on it, it's moving at about 40 miles per hour. So let me put a track on the heaviest part of the storm. If it makes it into Waco, and again, this storm could fall apart, it could pulse back up, it could be stronger, it could be weaker. That's what we're keeping an eye on. I will say as it moves towards McLennan County, it's a more rich atmosphere, so there's more moisture, more southerly winds, so I don't necessarily see it falling apart, but if it moves towards Waco, the Hewitt area would be by about 6:30. It's only moving at about 40 miles per hour right now. That's this storm. The other thing that we have to be aware of is the fact that it is spitting out these very strong outflow winds. You can kind of see to the south of the storm, you can see our little wind particles moving pretty quickly there. And so as it spits out these outflow winds, it could also generate new storms. So that's another thing that we're going to have to keep an eye on as well, is any outflow boundaries. That's what we call those strong winds come out of the storm that develop and then kick off new storms out ahead of these storms. But as far as this storm in particular is concerned, this one cell, yeah, moving towards Waco, 6:30 would be the timing that I'd put on that. And as far as what it's doing right now, the hail core is not as strong as it was. We were seeing hail earlier close to 3 inches. It's now under 2 inches, but again, still very dangerous, of course. Nearly 2 inches, so that's ping pong ball to golf ball sized hail. Definitely want to make sure that you're indoors with your car parked under an awning of some sort, whether that's a garage or whether that's the carport or whatever the case may be, as this storm continues to move your direction. Like I said, I'll go ahead and I'll write out a text answer to your question as well, but I just wanted to make sure I got in there and gave you a quick update. All right, still going through some of your questions on the Facebook Live from Christy. It looks like it's hitting the same areas as last night. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of these storms have had an eye for our northwestern counties primarily, but this storm is moving east. And again, as I was just saying, I don't anticipate it falling apart too much, so I would expect this to move through parts of Coryell and McLennan counties. Bosque and Hill would also be areas that I'd be watching out for with this storm as well. But yeah, basically the same areas that it moves through every single time. Now, as we take a look to the backside, what we're looking at is whether or not this line is going to fill in at all. And the expectation is that we'll get some fill in on this line. So if it does, I want to look at Marisol's question about Temple. As this line continues to fill in, we could see it hit parts of Bell County and into Lampasas County. So again, that's something we're keeping an eye on right now. The expectation is that yes, it will kind of fill out just a little bit. More of us will see rain than just where we're seeing it right now, and that's Mills and Hamilton. Yeah, Madison, I think your anxiety is shared with a lot of people when it comes to this severe weather, and you know, it's well placed. You know, when we talk about these hailstones, you know, 1 to 2 inch hail can be damaging. Of course, we saw that just on Mother's Day, and so, you know, I don't want to say, you know, who or where is going to see the storms over the course of the evening. What I will say again, like I said just a second ago, is that it looks like this line is going to fill in a little bit, and as it does so, more areas will get hit than, like I said, just Mills and Hamilton. Abigail and San Angelo, yeah, without a doubt, that storm that moved in from Sterling County, and you know, my first job was out in Midland, so I understand how these storms off the dry line can get started and turn really severe really fast. Especially there in Sterling, moving towards Tom Green County, of course. Yeah, they can be very strong. EJ, yeah, east of Temple, I think these storms will hold together long enough that a pretty good chunk of the viewing area will have a chance to see the storms. As far as what it will look like when it gets there, a lot of that is going to depend on how quickly these storms move. As you can see, they're not really making eastward progress very quickly. They're moving at about 40 miles per hour, but the general direction of the storm is kind of west, east, northeast, and so they're not making quick progress. The longer it takes them to get past, say, I-35, of course, the weaker they'll be, because then we'll be getting into those nighttime hours. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. As far as what we're looking at, I would still expect hail and wind to be a concern as it crosses I-35 at this time. A little bit earlier than our models were showing yesterday. All right, so we are preparing for the 5 o'clock news. So if you are near your TV, obviously, we will be leading off with weather. We'll get through your news of the day, and then we'll have your full weather forecast, of course, coming up about halfway through the show. So we are going to keep you updated, you know, I'm not entirely sure, and I don't want to make any promises about how the live stream will, what will happen to it during our show. I think we'll probably be live streaming the actual news broadcast, so it's not going to be all weather all the time, but just know that, well, I said that, and now we have a tornado warning. All right, so switching gears. If you are in Goldthwaite right now, we have a new issue that we need to talk about. All right, so here we are. I think we're going to potentially have to preempt some of the news here in this case, because we now have a new tornado warning issued for Mills County. This tornado warning includes the town of Goldthwaite. If you're in Goldthwaite right now, you need to be in your safe space. Again, that's the lowest level of your house, of course, away from any windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, because again, we have radar indications of a tornado. This is not spotted. This is not necessarily spotted. This is radar indicated. And again, this is moving off to the east. It will be passing through Goldthwaite. Let me go ahead and get this updated so we can see kind of the wind situation, because that's going to tell us where that rotation is. Yeah, let's jump on the TV too, Michael, if we can. Thank you. Sometimes that's, with weather, that's just how quickly you have to switch gears. All right, so here's what we're looking at. North of Goldthwaite, that's going to be, if there is rotation occurring at the base of this storm, that's where it's going to be, north of Goldthwaite. You see where the red and the green comes together, that's where the rotation would be. And again, this whole thing is moving off to the east right now. That's where the rotation would be. Again, we don't have any confirmation. No, we don't have a spotter on it necessarily just yet. This is all radar indicated, but rotation there for certain within this storm. Again, the question is the level of rotation. Is it in the upper levels of the storm? All right, and we're now live on Channel 6 as well as our live stream. Just want to quick update everybody, and I do hate to interrupt Jeopardy. You know I don't want to do that to you, but we do have a tornado warning in Mills County, and this includes the town of Goldthwaite right now. So if you're watching from Goldthwaite, you need to be in your safe space. Base level of your house, away from any windows, as far interior as you can get. If you have an interior bathroom, one that does not have windows. The bathtub is a great place to be. Obviously pillows, any couch cushions that you can take with you as well, that would be a very handy thing to have because you need to make sure your head is covered as well. But if you're in Goldthwaite, this is a tornado warning. Radar indicated rotation just to the north of Goldthwaite. I want to show you again where that rotation is within the storm. And there you can see it, where those reds and the greens come together just north of town. Let me zoom in just a little bit further so we can get a better idea of where this is. Okay, so this is going to be west of 183, south of Mullen, north of Goldthwaite, between towns. So again, it's moving across 183. This storm is moving to the east right now. So it is going to cross 183 here momentarily, or probably within the next 5 minutes. This is that area of rotation that we've been talking about. This is what spurred that tornado warning to be issued. Right now, it does not appear to be passing through Goldthwaite. And again, the east direction of the storm will take it north of Goldthwaite. But worth mentioning that if you're in the town of Goldthwaite, you still need to be in your tornado safe space. That is an interior bathroom, an interior closet. And again, obviously, goes without saying, on the lowest level of your house, a first floor, of course. If you have a basement, of course, that is ideal. But again, this is Texas. Most of us don't have basements, so we settle for the lowest floor of the house. And again, in an interior room, a small room with as many walls between you and the outside as possible. That's the best advice I can give you. But this is that area of rotation moving to the east across 183 here in the next 5 minutes. This whole thing is moving at about 40 miles per hour. So as I put a track on that spot, here over the next half hour, moving towards Center City. But again, Goldthwaite, if you're near Goldthwaite, you need to be taking cover. If you are, again, we're right up next to the rush hour. If you have to take 183, this is not the time to do it. Again, between Mullen and Goldthwaite, that's where we're looking right now. Hey, Aviana, are in the chat, are they saying anything?
Nothing just yet.
Yeah, go ahead and open her mic as well.
Nothing in the chat here just yet.
Okay.
I am watching it though, and then if y'all have any comments, I know we're not on the official Facebook live stream, but you can put something over there in the chat. I'm watching that as well. But nothing from the National Weather Service just yet, if it's confirmed.
Are you in are you in the Austin room or which room? I think I might have had it in the Austin room when I. Yeah, go to Fort Worth.
Still nothing confirmed.
Okay. So again, nothing confirmed with this, but a tornado warning does remain in effect here for the time being. Go ahead and.
Saying that the area of rotation will be approaching Goldthwaite in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah. So approaching Goldthwaite just in the next couple of minutes. That was from just a couple minutes ago. So again, we're right there. We're right to the north of Goldthwaite. This tornado warning in effect until 5:30 as we continue to watch this area of rotation crossing 183 and Highway 16 here as it continues to move off to the east, slightly to the southeast, but primarily an easterly motion that we're watching right now. So that's what we're dealing with, issue number one. Of course, issue number two, the same thing we've been dealing with all day, is the hail within the storm as well. Can't just worry about the rotation because we may not have a tornado on the ground, but we definitely have hail falling out of the storm. And you can see very large hail, especially just to the west of Goldthwaite. And since this storm's motion is taking it to the east-southeast, you're going to get that hail in Goldthwaite as well. So again, large hail in the core of the storm, up to about 2.5 inches, it looks like, based on the color coding. And then the same situation a little bit further east, just to the west of Evant. So if you're in Goldthwaite, if you're in Evant, very large hail cores heading your direction. With hail, again, up to about 2.5 inches in diameter with these storms as well. So that's another thing that we're going to have to watch out for in addition to that tornado threat. These storms, very powerful. They've been going all day. This whole system moved in from the west, moved into Brown County. And after it did so, it spurred a new thunderstorm, and that is the one we've been watching here just to the west of Goldthwaite now, and again, with the hail core just to the west of Evant as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the storms. Put them in motion. You can see where everything is heading. And a few things to look at here with this storm. We are watching then what you see in terms of the actual returns here. This looks like a little bit of an inflow notch, and that's one of those things that would indicate rotation to us, is it's starting to pull in drier air into the storm, which would tell us that there is that area of rotation within the storm, again, just near Goldthwaite. So that's where the rotation is, just north of Goldthwaite along 183. The largest hail is to the west of Goldthwaite, moving into town as we speak. So with hail up to 2.5 inches, you definitely don't want to be outside. Of course, with the rotation, that would preclude you being outside anyway. You should be in your safe room. You should be in the interior of your house on the lowest floor. However, even if there's no tornado present, there is certainly very large hail present with these storms. Any updates from over there?
So we have a flash flood warning that is in place for Mills County as well. That will extend until 8 p.m. between 1 to 3 inches of rainfall expected with this system moving through.
Okay, so yeah, in addition to everything else, obviously with the hail, we have the rotation, but these storms dropping significant amounts of rain, and even though they're moving at about 40 miles per hour, they continue to what we call back build off to the southwest, and so as they do that, you're bringing more rain into the situation as well, and with everything that we've seen, any rain that we get at this point obviously is not great news for us because everything is saturated. So there's the tornado threat, there is the hail threat, and there's also the flood threat as well. So kind of a triple whammy with the storm moving through Mills County right now, moving right towards Goldthwaite. So you can see taking a little bit of that right turn. We talked about that earlier. Just a little bit of a right turn tells you this is a powerful storm, has rotation in it, and it is taking it towards Goldthwaite. Again, do want to look at our velocity scans to see what is happening on the inside of the storm. Again, the hail. Thankfully, it looks like the largest of the hail is going to shift just to the south of Goldthwaite. That does not mean you're not going to see hail if you're in Goldthwaite. That just means you're going to miss the largest of the hail. Still powerful hail possible, up to an inch, inch and a half likely within the town of Goldthwaite, but that 2.5 inch hail should miss just to the south. So here's that area of rotation again, just now crossing Highway 183. Look behind this, anywhere you look, even where we're not seeing the rotation, we are still seeing very strong winds, potentially 60 to 65 mile per hour straight line winds. So even if you're not seeing a tornado, strong winds, strong enough to do damage to your house, of course, and do damage to your property and do damage to you if you're caught outside. So as I've said a number of times already, we definitely need to be inside with as many walls between you and the exterior of the house as possible. So that's what we have going on right now. Let's take a look around the area. Kind of a wider view, because this isn't the only storm that we're dealing with. It's the only storm right now that's in central Texas, but I just want to show you across the area we have more storms incoming. So there's our storm right now. There's the tornado warning we've been dealing with in Mills County, and this is moving towards parts of Lampasas. We'll move into Coryell as well. We'll see if that rotation does hold together to keep that tornado warning going after this is allowed to expire here at 5:30. Severe thunderstorm warnings, though, out for parts of the Concho Valley, the Big Country, down towards the Rio Grande. Up towards DFW and parts of Hunt County, Fanning County, those areas. This is all along a line. This is what I was talking about on our Facebook Live a little bit earlier, is we do expect that this will fill in a little bit. So just because there's only one area seeing storms at this time, we do still suspect that we are going to be dealing with more across the area as this line does fill in just a little bit. So that's what we're dealing with this tornado warning right now, still in effect. Will continue to be in effect here until 5:30 over the course of the next half hour or so. We are about to start 6 News at 5, so we're going to run the intro, we're going to run the hellos, but then we're definitely going to come right back to this tornado warning to keep you informed of what's going on across the area. And if you're in this area, stay indoors. If you are outside of this tornado warned area, if you're outside of the area of rotation and you have pictures of hail, pictures of wind damage, anything that you want to send us, of course, you can always send that to news@kcentv.com, and we will definitely get those on air for you so we can see what's happening and show everybody just how dangerous these storms can be. Another thing I'm noticing too, and Michael, if you can hear me, whenever you need to run the intro, whenever we need to start the show, just let me know and we will do that. But we are going to basically run the intro of the show and then probably come right back to weather because we do need to continue talking about this tornado warning. Oh, that's an option too. So our production people telling us we can just stay live. The other thing that we're seeing with this storm, a little bit of a bow signature. So again, even with the rotation, that's one part of it. The strong straight line winds are usually indicated by these bowing shapes that we see within the storms as well. So what we're going to do is we're just going to keep going over this storm because as long as this tornado warning is in effect, this is the news. This is what we have to talk about. So let's go ahead and take a look, Avion, again, inside this storm. And if anybody pops up with anything, just let me know, and we can always get that on there as well. Anything new?
As of right now, we're continuing. National Weather Service just sent in that they're continuing to monitor Central Texas now, looking at an enhanced tornado threat until about 7 p.m.
Okay. And we are already seeing that threat a little bit. So as I'm looking at this is the area that we're watching for that rotation before. It looks like it's trying to fall apart just a little bit on me. Aviana, would you concur?
Yeah, I agree there.
Yeah.
We're not seeing those distinct reds and greens where we see the red and green means the winds are converging. And so we're not really seeing that right now. So it looks like it's kind of diminishing a little bit, which we want to see that for sure.
Absolutely. You want to see the rotation fall apart a little bit because, one, the tornado threat obviously diminishes if the storm isn't as tight as it was before. The other thing, too, is if we can get the rotation to kind of come to an end, that also takes away some of that hail threat because it's that basically the conservation of momentum is what keeps these storms going and keeps them developing those large hailstones. The other thing, again, take a look in the backside. Remember where I showed you it was bowing earlier? That is where we're seeing some of our strongest straight line winds. In fact, Aviana, if you want to go ahead and click on that, we can show people exactly how strong these winds are on the backside of the storm. Yeah, so a couple of things to keep in mind. 73, that might be fairly accurate. So the radar that we're using is kind of behind me. It's down towards, we call it, it's KGRK is its call letters. It's down closer to Georgetown. So we're still 60, 70 miles away from the radar site, but close enough, I would say that we're getting an idea. 73 miles per hour. Would not be surprised if the winds at the surface were closer to 60 to 65, but of course still damaging winds possible with this storm. So we have a tornado warning in effect on it, and we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect because we have multiple potential hazards here as this storm continues to move across the Colorado River and move off to the east-southeast. Let's take a look at the hail again, because at this point I believe hail core number 1 is probably going to be south of Goldthwaite. Hail core number 2 is probably going to be moving into Evant here pretty quick. So the primary hail core is south of Goldthwaite, kind of along the Colorado River. It's kind of been following the Colorado River just a little bit, and probably up to about 2-inch hail in the core of this storm. Not the largest hail.
Yeah, right about that, Matt.
Yeah, ping pong ball size hail. And you just saw a new severe thunderstorm warning issued. So what that tells me, they're continuing the severe thunderstorm warning. My guess is that the tornado warning will be allowed to expire sooner rather than later. And again, it runs till 5:30 anyway, but the expectation is with this whole complex, we're going to continue to see the hail threat and the wind threat continue on here over the next little while. So 1.6 there. Let's take our scope over to Evant, because I know there was another hail core over there that we definitely want to keep an eye on as well. So multiple cores within this storm that we're dealing with. And yeah, if you're in Evant right now, I mentioned it before, you want to be indoors. Now is that time because some of the largest hail in this core is going to move right through the middle of town. So they're right along 183. It is going to, or not 183. Can we go ahead and, I can't remember what highway it is, if I'm being honest with you. 84. So Highway 84. So from Goldthwaite to Evant. This is basically the Highway 84 complex right now because hail core number 1 is just south of Goldthwaite. Hail core number 2 is moving into Evant right now, and you can see the size here. That is ping pong ball sized hail. Ping pong ball sized hail would be 1.5 inches. This is 1.7, so it's a little bit larger than that. It's between ping pong ball and golf ball sized hail that we're dealing with this storm, and it is moving right into the heart of Evant right now. So if you're in town, stay indoors. Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with right now. Let's go back to the velocity scans, just see if anything's changed in the last couple of minutes. Question for production: do we have any traffic cams in this part of the world? I'm not sure, but if we do, that would be great if we could pull one of those up. So again, still seeing some signs of rotation now south of Goldthwaite. Again, not tight at this hour. It does not look super tight with the rotation. We're seeing kind of some messy images of rotation here. Would not expect that this would be associated with a tornado. Could be a wall cloud, of course, associated with the storm, but not seeing anything right now that would indicate a tornado on the ground. But again, those strong straight line winds, anywhere you see the oranges, this is going to be 50, 60, 70 miles per hour. So all of this is flowing out of this storm. And again, I mentioned this earlier, I mentioned on our live stream, anytime you have winds coming out of the storm that are that strong, they can then generate their own storms downstream from the original parent storm. So that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. And in fact, that's how these storms actually came to be. So let's take this off. Let's zoom back out just a little bit, and let's put a track. It's the area of rotation, and again, even on our excuse me, even on our reflectivity scans, I'm not seeing a whole lot here. If there's an area of rotation, it's probably going to be likeliest down in this area just south of Goldthwaite. But here over the next hour or so, we expect these storms to continue moving east, a little bit southeast, but towards Castor by about 5:09, Center City by 5:17, into Moline at 5:29, Evant by close to 5:45, Permela by 6:02, and then Arnott by 6:10. So this storm moving at about 40 miles per hour. It is going to take a little bit of time for it to continue to move across Mills County and then move eventually into Hamilton and into Coryell counties. And all of this, since it is moving east-southeast, if you're in Waco, this storm is headed your way. And I mentioned this earlier in our live chat. As it continues to move that direction, the key factor is going to be how long it takes to get there. It's moving fairly slowly. The longer it takes to get there, we get deeper into the night. The skies get darker. We lose that energy. You won't have as powerful of storms. The problem is it's moving east. It's also building east, and we're seeing everything kind of move into that area of kind of more a rich atmosphere with those southeast winds, that humidity, and of course the heat that we've been dealing with for the last few days. So that's this storm. Let's go ahead and widen our view here and keep it in motion, just widen out so we can see what's happening. Over the last hour to 2 hours, you can see more activity again developing out to our west. You can see all that activity up towards DFW, and you can see the line acting like it wants to fill in just a little bit. So I think more people are going to see storms with this particular situation than what we've seen in the last few severe weather episodes that we've had. I think we're going to have a little bit more of a linear situation, which brings showers and thunderstorms and some of those strong thunderstorms to multiple areas of central Texas here over the rest of the evening. Go ahead and click on the severe thunderstorm warning. Let's see how long this is in effect until. And again, it's a pretty wide polygon, so it's probably going to have a pretty deep expiration. About an hour here till 6 o'clock, Coryell, Hamilton, Lampasas, and Mills. And this is a very large storm. This was a single supercell that then generated new storms, and they have kind of generated into a little bit more of a complex that is now moving off to the east with just a little bit of a southeasterly component as well. And that's what we're dealing with at this moment. Aviana, anything to add?
Well, they just mentioned that it could be considerable flooding in Mills County, so that will be attached to that flash flood warning that is already currently in place right now. So just be on the watch out for that. Again, not a time to travel as we deal with these storms rolling through. They're dumping a lot of rain, already seeing that tornado warning in place, and then now a considerable tag is being added to that flash flood warning. So just use caution out there, and again, try not to travel on the roadways as rain is moving through. Exactly.
So we have different levels of warning, as Aviana just mentioned. So you start off with just a flash flood warning. When they add the considerable tag, of course, that would be a more dangerous situation, and then we continue to move up from there. So yeah, right. A lot of rain. What are we looking at? About 2 hours that it's been raining in parts of Mills County, and especially as it falls along the Colorado River and drains into the Colorado River, it's going to move on down towards Lampasas County and into Burnett County as well. So something to keep an eye on there if you're downstream along the Colorado River as well. So that's what we're dealing with. A little bit of a reset here. Again, we have one tornado warning across the area, and that's what we've been covering for the past 20 minutes or so. Right now, the rotation, as of our last check, did not look terribly impressive. I would have expected when this was a single supercell that the threat of a tornado would have been stronger, but now that it's become part of this much larger complex, that takes some of the tornado threat out of the picture. But again, that then leads the way for strong wind threat. That leads the way for a larger hail threat. So let's go ahead and take a look inside. Maybe trying to tighten up just a little bit south of Goldthwaite right now, moving towards, again, Highway 183. So we've seen the area of rotation of the storm jump just a little bit from north of town to south of town. So it's taken just a little bit of a jog, again, moving back towards 183 now. As it continues its trek to the east. Let's take a look at the hail. I have a feeling it's going to be fairly considerable as far as the hail is concerned within the storm as well. Okay, not too bad. It's actually gone down, and that's good news because the hailstones were as large as 1.5 inches up to close to 2 inches. Now right around 1 inch. Remember, the severe criteria is 1 inch, so if this continues to dissipate, gets down to about 1 inch or smaller, we would see the severe thunderstorm warning for hail be allowed to expire, but it would probably be allowed to continue for the wind threat that we have with this storm as well. well. Probably larger hail, in fact, than that as we head towards Evant and Adamsville, though. As you see, we have these cores near Evant down towards Adamsville. I think Adamsville is where we're seeing the largest hail as of our last couple of scans. So let's go ahead and take a look there. Yeah, for sure. Seeing those orange colors, that tells me that these hailstones are, our Doppler radar is indicating. Again, this is not confirmed, but our Doppler radar is indicating that southeast of Moline, we're seeing hail approaching 4 inches in diameter. A baseball is 275, a softball is 3.5. So that's what we're dealing with here, 3.6 inches. That's softball-sized hail potentially. Thankfully, the good news is it's falling in an area between Moline and Adamsville. It's not falling on either town right now. This is a little more rural. You can see that yellow dot in the middle. That's probably going to be where the largest hail is. The rest of it right around 3 inches, though. In fact, 4.2 inches. So this is very large hail. We saw in the Austin area just a couple of weeks ago, we saw hailstones of 5.5 to close to 6 inches falling, and that's very nearly what we're seeing here. What's up?
Great news in the chat. They're going to be able to cancel the tornado warning for Mills County here shortly. They're going to continue to monitor the rotation, though, that's just southwest of Goldthwaite, but the tornado warning will be allowed to expire. And also for the flash flood warning, the considerable threat is also for Mills as well as Hamilton County. Okay,
so they've extended that a little bit to the east then. Yeah, these storms dropping a lot of rain, and unfortunately they're moving at 30 to 40 miles per hour, but they're moving the wrong direction. They're moving to the northeast, or they're moving to the east, and they're building back to the west. Back to the west. And so what ends up happening is you get hours of rainfall rather than minutes of rainfall. We're looking at a situation right now where it's been raining in Mills County for about an hour and a half. And after the spring that we've already had, more rain will just continue to make those problems worse. So the good news is they are going to allow that tornado warning to expire. That is the good news. The bad news is there are still other threats that we're dealing with, the flooding threat through Mills County into Hamilton County, and the hail threat that still exists from just south of Goldthwaite down towards Moline and Adamsville. Again, this hail core right now, according to our Doppler radar, and again, this is not confirmed, but according to our Doppler radar, these hailstones approaching 3.5 to 4 inches. So with all that being said, the good news again is that the tornado threat, the tornado warning has been allowed to expire right now. And just take a look at these hail numbers, 3.4 to 1.7 there south of Evant along 281. So kind of a split right along 281 right now. West of 281, very, very large hail, 3.5 inch hail. On the east side of 281, we are seeing 1.7. So this is more akin to ping pong. This is more akin to very nearly softball sized hail. So that's what we're dealing with. I do want to say, and if we're good to go as far as our producers and our production staff is concerned, we can take this to break real quick and we can get a little bit of news in before we start talking about the weather again, because we have seen that tornado warning expire. So for now, we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back with a little bit of your news of the day.
Hopefully it's not a crisis that doesn't include video.
6 News at 5 starts now. Hi, everybody. Testing. Good, Johnny?